my name is Michaela, and today I'll be talking about control orders and associative powers in Australia with stopping terrorist attacks. I've been asked to talk in behalf of the Australian Human Rights Law Centre. So there are definitely challenges for the coming years. You've got foreign fighters, they are returning home constantly. Then you've also got the potential for radicalisation in prisons, and also managing with people who are coming out of prison, which is also another challenge, but I will be talking about that in my report. So since 2014, there has been 16 counter-terrorism operations in Australia, resulting in more than 40 people being charged with terrorism and other offences. As you can see up on the board with the diagram that I have there from 2017, Australia is white. It hasn't actually had any attacks, but ASIO is constantly stopping them, ASIO and the Australian Federal Police. ASIO is currently managing around 400 priority counter-terrorism investigations. You've got approximately 177 Australian passports that have been cancelled, and another around 33 suspended. So terrorism is continuing to evolve, especially with technology. It's so much easier to communicate with Islamic organisations. So Australia will need to remain responsive and quick. So this is why I'm talking about it. Are control orders effective, or are they impinging on human rights too much? And kind of recommendations on how we can improve control orders, and how there might be some other options that other countries around the world are using that could be effective in helping us for the future, definitely. So there is definitely importance in creating a balance between national security and human rights, and it can be difficult to find that perfect balance. So it is crucial for the success of counterterrorism strategies and to maintain the tolerance and democratic ideals of a multicultural community. So control orders, firstly, are defined under Division 104 of the Criminal Code that allows obligations and restrictions to be imposed on a person. These orders are used to protect the community. So it is basically there to kind of stop people from communicating, supporting and facilitating in these engagements. So the control order is first written up by a senior Australian Federal Police member. It is then given to the courts, and then they have to accept the police member's request. So it can be a bit slow. In urgent matters, they will take it straight to the Attorney General and get it signed off, but they have to write out the request and get it signed off. That's just, the rule of them. So all the information that you do need to know about control orders is up on the board. I've kind of written the main dot points, but I'll also kind of talk about it a bit more too. So I got most of my information off Section 104 out of the Criminal Code. So there is definitely preconditions in making a control order. You can't just give a control order to everyone. They do have to kind of tick out this like a list. So basically, the Australian Federal Police will consider these orders if the individual is providing, receiving or participating in training with a listed terrorist organisation. A control order can be given to an individual at the youngest age of 14. However, if you're 14 to 17, you are classified as a special regime control order, which can only last 3 months. A normal control order can last maximum of 12 months. So a control order can require a person to wear a device. They also have to hand in their phones and laptops. They have to report to someone at a certain time and place. They also have to be photographed, and sometimes they can't leave the country or the town, or they get given special requirements depending on how severe the case was. So now I'm going to talk about human rights. So that was control orders really quickly. I have gone into more detail on my report, kind of nutting out what exactly control orders are, kind of the things that make them great and the things that kind of a bit on the line of controversy. And there is definitely being some controversial matters with control orders. So human rights are inherent to all human beings. So regardless of your race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, and religion, human rights include the right to life and liberty, freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion and expression, the right to work and education. So international human rights laws lay down the obligations of governments to act in certain ways or to refrain from certain acts in order to promote and protect human rights and fundamental freedoms of individuals or groups. So control orders, they restrict the liberty of an individual in order to protect the community. So that one was actually from Burton and Williams 2013. So the Australian government introduced control orders in 2005 after following the example of the UK. However, in 2011, the UK actually abolished their control orders because they created what is now called is the TPIMS, which stands for Terrorism Prevention and Investigation Measures. So this attempts to clarify the problematic relationship between control orders and the criminal law, which there has been a lot of success with these TPIMS, but there's also kind of, yeah, they are effective, but I wouldn't say they're the most effective thing out there. But I have kind of looked at it because we do often follow the UK. So it stipulates that an investigation with a view of the prosecution must be kept under the police for the life of the TPI, which I think is really good that the police kind of are in control of it. So I think that's one good thing. So the future of the Australian control order regime has been a topic. The AFP has argued that the repeal of the control order regime would create a substantial vacuum in the counter-terrorism options and compromise its ability to protect the Australian community from terrorism and respond to events such as terrorism. There is a clear line of protecting the community and preventing a terrorist attack in Australia. There remains a genuine risk of terrorist activity, but it can often be exaggerated. So the one thing I found really surprising in this one, especially with the whole human rights, is that Australia does not have a charter of human rights. So studying this topic, I found that the Commission is concerned some counter-terrorist laws don't have adequate safeguards against abuse. In two cases in particular, you've got David Hicks and Dr. Mohammed Hanif, have highlighted the injustices that have resulted. So criticisms of the Australians Control Orders scheme have focused on the safeguards to ensure the restrictions imposed by control orders so they don't breach basic human rights. So pretty much I think would be really beneficial is introducing an Australian Charter of Human Rights. So the Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities comes from a long tradition of human rights law internationally. At the federal level, the Australian government has an obligation under international law to respect, protect and fulfil human rights, implement the recommendations of major reports on counter-terrorism laws, and establish an independent reviewer of counter-terrorism laws. So I'm still looking at more recommendations, and in the report I will be focusing on looking at the recommendations suggested by the Australian Human Rights Commission 2017. Approaches that I have looked at and focused on could be effective are travel restriction orders, which are used, and in particular in control orders there is travel restrictions. However, this one's more focused. Civil Contingencies Act 2004, the use of internet evidence in criminal prosecution, and possible reforms of the current control order system. Also, I feel like this is time to kind of also think about how beneficial a Charter of Human Rights would be, especially when we are trying to stop terrorism, and we do need that balance. Having that there and having something you kind of constantly look at, also something that kind of binds these laws to ensure that human rights are the top priority, but sometimes they can be forgotten. So a possible reform could be the introduction of a time limit of 12 months without further renewal options. This would result in general civil liberties protection for the individual while helping strike abundance between the individual and security.